I'm sure when you clicked on this video, you wondered, how can Santa Claus possibly hurt someone? Everybody knows he's always happy and so generous. Who the fuck is this guy talking down on the one and only Santa Claus? Well, in this video I still want to show you how Santa can be bad for your brand. You get a better understanding on the relationship this Christmas character has with people all around the globe, and how companies that don't understand his traits while featuring him in ad campaigns always get punished. Also, we'll see when and how you can use his identity to boost your ad campaign. If you ask Tony, a young innocent kid that lives in the UK, for example, who's this man with a red coat, glad plump and jolly fellow, Tony will tell you, and it's for a fact for him, that this is Santa Claus, or Father Christmas, who lives together with Mrs. Claus, the elves and the reindeers at the North Pole. And Tony will even go further and add, in his magic flying sleigh, he comes through the chimneys and leaves gifts for kids during Christmas every year. If you tell Tony it's a lie, then better get prepared to face the consequences of your blasphemy. If Tony's parents learn that you even told him something crazy like that, it may even get worse for you. This is because Santa Claus represents a lot of things that people cling to. When you speak of Santa, it means generosity and thanksgiving, magic and wonder, Christmas cheer, community and togetherness, values of kindness and good behavior. And he also represents childhood innocence and joy that you're intentionally trying to take out from the young Tony. Tying Santa Claus' identity to anything that he's not known for, or using his image to anything that people do not relate him to, is probably the worst thing that you can do, and that's relevant for any business. As we know, many businesses usually use Santa Claus for their holidays ad campaign, and for those who haven't understood that concept, it turned out to be a disaster. Even if their intention was nothing bad to begin with, it's just a bad idea to use Santa anyhow. A recent example of an advertisement that featured Santa Claus that failed would be The Gift, an ad that showed NHS staff nursing and ailing Santa back to good health. While the ad was intended to honor the staff in hospitals during the pandemic, seeing Santa sick in the hospital didn't go well with the kids. The ad was quickly withdrawn after the bad reception it received. In a statement, NHS charities together apologized to kids who had seen the ad, but also said that it isn't aimed at children and hasn't been shown on TV. But the problem with this ad is that they focused on praising themselves and how they worked so hard during the pandemic. What I'm not trying to deny here in any way, Santa for people represents generosity and selflessness. If instead of praising themselves and their staffs and how they have worked so hard, if their ad was something like there's a plot with Santa among the nurses, making surprise visits to people affected by a virus and healing them, that would have been a much better plot. And I'm sure it would be much better received than what they did. Let me know what you think. A second example is the second most complained about ad of all time in the UK, which is an ad from Tesco. Tesco's ad, just like our previous example, focused on Santa and the pandemic. In one of the scenes of the ad, they say
Santa could be quarantined.
Next.
it received a negative response from some people who vowed to boycott the store, and hashtag boycott Tesco began trending on Twitter. During the pandemic, there were many people that were against some rules and regulations implemented by the authorities in order to control the pandemic situation, like wearing masks, international traveling rules, vaccination, etc. Many were against some of these rules, especially vaccination. So when this ad popped out, it was badly received, especially by people who were against these rules and regulations, and who saw this ad like some type of manipulation of the population. The ad received 5,009 complaints from members of the public. This is what the ASA spokesman had to say about it. Having carefully assessed the 5,000 complaints we received, we have concluded it doesn't break our rules and there are no grounds for further action. Whether the ad was made intentionally to motivate the population to comply with COVID regulations or not, it was definitely a bad idea from Tesco to associate Father Christmas with such a controversial period like the COVID-19 pandemic. There are many more examples just like this, and it's something that has been happening since the old days. For example, the wine company Beer featured a drunk Santa in its 1934 print ad. We all imagine what the response was like. Another was the 1936 ad by Lucky Strike Cigarette featuring Santa smoking. Then you have an ad from Our Shirts published in 1947 featuring Santa trying to shoot himself because he wasn't going to be able to fulfill all the requests for Our Shirts that he received. I guess now you better understand why these ads turned into a disaster after using Santa Claus. If you don't get it yet, then you might as well start from the beginning. Did Father Christmas ever exist? Where does that personality come from? Why does everybody has this belief of someone that's so generous, brings gifts at the eve of Christmas for everybody? Why does he have this same status which is very delicate and fragile to be played with? Well, let's get some answers. Saint Nicholas, who was a bishop from Turkey in the 4th century, is the inspiration behind the legendary character of Santa Claus. He was an altruist who strived for the well-being of the needy. Santa wasn't as cheerful as we know him to be today. Santa Claus, unlike what one might believe, didn't wear any red coats. Instead, he wore green or tan. Back then, he wasn't someone who gave gifts. Instead, he was a protector of the needy, just like Saint Nicholas himself. Things really started kicking in Santa's depiction when Clark Moore wrote a poem describing Santa as a chubby and plump-looking cheerful elf with a white beard and a tiny nose. And later, a famous caricaturist at the time, Thomas Nast, used Moore's description in an illustration of Santa Claus. As time passed, this figure will be modeled and perfected by illustrators into what we know of Santa Claus or Father Christmas. Today, Santa is portrayed as a thoughtful, grandfatherly man in line with historical descriptions of Saint Nicholas, a cheery, joyful character with a white beard driving a sleigh. In 1915, White Hawk Water in San Francisco was the first company to include Santa in an advertising campaign. And since then, the trend has followed in different ways, solidifying more and more the polished and iconic figure of Christmas. Many companies understood the image and symbol Santa Claus represented and have since then made famous ads featuring the popular character. We can state examples of this without starting with Coca-Cola, whose Christmas ads have always been trendsetters. A recent one was in 2020. The concept was new. One thing that did not change was that Santa Claus still delivered happiness, and in this case did so by bringing the little girl's father home for Christmas. This ad was among the best rated Christmas ads in 2020. Santa and Coca-Cola is a true love story. Some even think that Santa Claus' red and white coat is based on Coca-Cola brand color scheme. But now we all know that it's Thomas Nast who gave Santa Claus his red and white coat in one of his portraits, long before Coca-Cola even started their series of Father Christmas ad campaigns. There are so many companies that have made successful ad campaigns featuring Santa Claus, like Whitman Chocolates, Gel-O, Plymouth, Pepsi, Blue Blocker. Now, we've all seen that Santa Claus didn't originally wear a red and white coat. He wasn't as cheerful. But does it mean today, while using him for your Christmas advertisement, you're going to feature him wearing green because you're trying to be original and stay true to the real character? No. Why? Because that's not what people have in mind of Father Christmas. Santa has become such an icon today that if you decide to tie him to your brand or company, you have to make sure all his traits are enhanced in order for this to work. The special traits of Santa Claus not to be overlooked today in your business strategies are: he's a man of happiness, a symbol of hope, always on time to deliver gifts with his sleigh, and Santa is a symbol of celebration. If you always take these into account and place Santa Claus at the core of your advertisement campaign, the positive results will follow and strengthen the bond between you and your customers. Ignore any of this and you might as well face a disaster for your company and your business, just like what we saw earlier in this video, or even worse, a punishment from Santa Claus. Hope you appreciated this special episode and found it valuable. Since it's Christmas at the time of recording this, I thought a video a little bit related will please you. If you did, drop a like, and I'd like to know what you think of Santa Claus. Did you know the origin? What are your thoughts on the ads that were a failure as a result of associating him with their concepts. Let me know what you think in the comment and watch this video next on the 5 amazing steps Netflix took to be successful from zero, and I'll be seeing you over there. Don't forget, together let's make better solutions. Peace.